You ever just land a shot you totally weren't expecting to hit to the point that you even surprise yourself with it? I mean, seriously, what is it with me either missing every single bullet on somebody right in front of me, or my gun refusing to get off my target until I turn them into Swiss cheese? There are few things as puzzling to me as the consistent inconsistencies of my DPS gameplay, where there is no break long enough to make me lose my way on Zenyatta. If I'm not playing DPS on a regular, I have an Ice Cube's chance in hell of beating my tanks to a damage medal. Naturally, the balance heavily skews in your favor if you've been playing Overwatch since launch when hopping on a new account. The best thing you can do for the sake of fairness, because let's be real here, it's not like Blizzard is gonna stop us from giving them more money for more accounts, is trying our best in these early games for the matchmaker to adjust our MMR. And trust me, the game definitely knows if you're smurfing, and it is definitely trying to give you a taste of your own medicine. I've leveled up enough accounts to know that by level 10, the matchmaker has a decent idea of who to put me up against. By level 15, I'm definitely starting to struggle, and somewhere around level 20, I'm getting very familiar with the defeat screen. With the notable exception of FFAs, bullying those nerds and stealing all their kills will never stop being funny to me. Make no mistake, all that playtime in the past years has done little to turn me into a good DPS player. I'm not kidding when I say that 9 out of 10 times, if you see me land a sick shot, I was probably just randomly flicking in your general direction in hopes of hitbox magic doing the rest for me. That doesn't stop some people from getting really salty once they see my account level, but hey, it wouldn't be magic if they knew how it works. Also, I need you guys to ignore the fact that my name changed between levels 15 and 18. It's gonna make sense in a future episode, so hey, make sure you're subscribed to not miss out on that one. Anyway, my very apparent lack of competence makes it very awkward when somebody sees me on Widowmaker thinking I'm about to absolutely annihilate the lobby just because I'm below level 25. I had a lot of expectations to live up to in this match, much like I had high expectations on our last episode. After a forced 3-month vacation away from Overwatch to the hands of tendinitis, I was hungering for the satisfaction that comes with flanking as Zenyatta. I always said if you have never used Transcendence to chase down your foes, then you're definitely not having as much fun as you could. What better way to celebrate your return to the game than by unapologetically flanking on a hero that has no place being on the flank? And to hammer home that point, I made it my mission to eliminate every Zenyatta player that does as much as thinking about playing in standard fashion. There comes a time where you simply have to learn that a Reinhardt barrack can only do so much for you in the face of death. Unfortunately, it seems like that lesson did not end up having the desired effect on this particular Zenyatta though. But you can't dish out the damage unless you are ready to take some punishment, and that is exactly what is going to happen today, my friends, as our story today takes place on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Now, this match was special to me because not only did my teammates expect me to carry the game in light of my Smurfing cosplay, but throughout the course of this match, whether intentional or not, I found myself getting focused more than was probably warranted. Widowmaker is one of those heroes that most certainly affects your positioning even when the person pulling the trigger hits air more often than not. But I was determined to not let my teammates down, so it was time to turn the streets red, much like our team's color. My tanks wasted no time yeeting themselves towards the defenders to disrupt their lineup and create space for DPS to do some damage. And said damage was definitely coming, but if I wanted to do more than feeding their support's ultimate charge, I would have to start getting into a habit of clicking heads more than tummies. The enemy Genji X Terios meanwhile knew exactly how to get that sort of value. After having shredded our Winston, they swiftly came for our backline, but thankfully our Mercy was there to keep us alive and they had no choice but to disengage. It was very apparent that playing a diving style composition into their bunker lineup meant that we had to be very mindful of our lines of sight. Goated, the Hammond player, was the only one with a health pool thick enough to survive escorting the payload, while the rest of us had to find a way to make ourselves useful. Though there was one benefit to me not having gotten an elimination: the enemies underestimated me. X-Terios was not taking me nor my Zenyatta seriously as they danced around the payload just to eventually pay the price for it. I immediately grappled up on high ground to follow up on that frag, but between Goated booping my targets and their Orisa plopping down barriers, it took a little while for me to find and eliminate a target. But I was only warming up with my onslaught of sniper fire, soon finding another victim. Unfortunately, the defenders had plenty of bite left. For every elimination I painstakingly obtained, the enemies found a way to catch our team off guard to keep us on the back foot. There was no expense spared to make sure that we can't build up any momentum no matter how much we tried. It was only a matter of time until the enemy team focused their attention on me next, but just as I thought my time had come, Goated heroically put themselves between me and the Roadhog's hook to save my life. The fight was lost, but the war was far from over. We learned that the enemy team had holes in their defense that we could exploit, and as long as you use the power of anime, friendship, and you hitting that like button, button, we could make this happen. After another minute of careful backline poking, the enemy team was getting antsy. Our 1.5 sniper composition must have annoyed them to no end, because when Terios got tired of the constant barrage of body shots, they pulled out the weep stick to finally take us out, just to be met with a transcendence. Goated had since made the swap to D.Va, and being the team player that they are, they were not about to let this Genji roam free. This was the opening that our team needed. Armed with a mobile bongo, Zakid on Ash made use of every last mistake they spotted to begin tearing through the now weakened defenders. If at this point you didn't understand what the meaning of momentum in an Overwatch context was, then witness as the enemy team struggled to cobble together a defense in light of our Ash picking off key members of their composition. My second DPS had laid down the groundwork, and was about time for me to capitalize on it. I swung around into the server room, ready to hit the final nail in the coffin, just to get nailed myself. The rest of my team was quick to respond to the enemy sniper while my Mercy scraped me off the ground, but my ego was definitely hurt. We succeeded in finally taking the first point thanks to our Mercy Ash duo laying down the smack. I suppose all is well that ends well, but we had 2 more points to go, and if I want to live up to my team's expectations, I would really have to pick up the pace. For how much trouble the blue team's defenses were giving us, they sure as heck felt like dominoes the moment they got overzealous. Though as much as I celebrated the fact that I did indeed collect an elimination, this glorious push was all thanks to the rest of my team. Calling my actions suppressive fire would be an overstatement, because while my occasional body shots may have expedited the sending of enemy faces back to their spawn, their demise was all but inevitable anyway. But hey, I'm not picky, you take victories where you can get them, and when the enemy Mercy decided to donate an elimination to me, of course I wouldn't say no to that. Unfortunately, their Moira was a bit more intelligent than that. And intellect was the only thing I could rely on, reading the enemy's moves to give my lackluster aim a fighting chance. While my team continued to absolutely meme on the defenders, Terios made the cowardly decision to leave their comrades for dead, instead being replaced by Jonas. Or is it Junas? I feel like somebody's gonna get angry in the comments no matter how I pronounce that name. Either way, this new DPS player made the choice to come to the rescue as Echo without understanding the gravity of their situation. Their flight was immediately cancelled as they triggered my Venomine just before getting slam dunked by my D.Va, and I would soon learn that they took that very personally. I would lie if I said that I was not feeling smug when my Venomine granted me a kill, but that smile would immediately get wiped off my face the moment I spotted the last surviving defenders roll up on my crib. Speak of instant karma, thankfully my Mercy still had not realized that I was a cosmetic sniper at best, bringing me back into the game in order to allow me to get revenge. This second point capture was ours, but I was accumulating a lot of bad karma at record speeds. I was cruising on the back of my teammates so far, but little did I know at that point that my occasional body shots were more important to a success than I anticipated. And don't think for even a second that I was done body shotting. I mean, hats off to the defenders for that coordinated retreat, but my constant peppering of sniper bullets were undeniably gonna get them salty. Enough so for some Dorito breath smelling weirdo to try and jump me in the backline just to once again hop right into my Venomine. But Jonas Vendetta had to take a backseat because my tanks continued to march towards the finish line. It was about time to land some shots again, and while not all of them could be of the head clicking variety, thanks to our Mercy's damage boost, body shots were all I needed to start cleaning house. We may be on attack, but that does not mean I could not defend. When my Zenyatta got jumped by Jonas, it was thanks to my body shot that they survived. Things were going swimmingly for us, up to the point where my teammates decided to play outside of my LOS. More troubling than that was the fact that they tried to fight the enemy Junkrat in an enclosed space, and while that is not a good idea at the best of times, it most surely doesn't help when said Junkrat also has a hacked health pack to leech off of. My Reinhardt was completely oblivious of what was going on behind them because they continued to push towards the enemy spawn, with little old me being the only one helping them. Eventually, I woke up to the fact that things were not going our way. When all the red nameplates got replaced by the blue ones, I knew that the only sensible play was a tactical retreat. What made me feel very guilty, however, was the fact that my Mercy continued to put their faith in me, which eventually led to their downfall. I mean, granted, this was not the first time I had betrayed a Mercy's trust, but this time it wasn't actually on purpose. Our team was left in a very tight spot, literally. The choke point heavy nature of this last point made engaging without taking a chunk of damage very difficult, and that very apparent last point defender bias was definitely coming in clutch for our enemies as well. We had a few good attempts as well as a few hero swaps, but Jonas was putting the rest of their team into their backpack. Not only did they continue harassing me to no end, but they had proven to be more slippery than wet soap. That's to say that their brazen plays always went completely unpunished, to the point where I'm very scared of finding out what this person can do once that Overwatch 2 Sombra remake hits in like 2 years. Yay, delay news. use. Time was definitely a concern because we were rapidly approaching last fight territory. Thankfully, much like X tiers before them, Jonas was growing overconfident in light of the fact that they continued to get away, but thanks to the collective effort of no less than 3 attackers, the enemy Sombra was finally taken out. A small victory that allowed us to fully commit to this fight. Our supports had to pump ungodly amounts of healing into our Reinhardt just for them to stay alive, while the rest of us had to clear out the flanks. But it was this do-or-die moment that turned Metallicant into Metallican as they brought down their hammer in defiance. I was already late to the party when I showed up from the side. I tried to follow up on the shadow with a massive deadeye, but the timing of that Winston bubble could not have been any worse for me. Thankfully, my second DPS had a better angle on that, so even though we lost the tank, we made sure to get some eliminations out of it as the defenders tried desperately to find their way back into the safety of their spawn room. But just as we thought we were on the home stretch, Jonas came back with a big EMP that put our chances to win in jeopardy once again. I had so much trouble getting anything done at all as I was never granted control of my character. Between getting primaled and whole hog, the EMP was really just a cherry on top of me not being allowed to play the video game. But my suffering was far from over. The enemy Roadhog was not contending with booping me around and tunneled me to make sure I can't counter Jonas. My mercy brought me back once again, but this Roadhog truly was a man on a mission. Whatever was going on behind them mattered not because they had one target and one target only. I'm sure that an actually good DPS player could have taken that early advantage and ran with it, but the game was lost and I was revealed to be the low MMR DPS loser that I was always destined to be. Oh well, guess I'll go back to bullying people in FFA. And if you are wondering what my gameplay looks like when I'm on my main, why not check out the last episode? Ironically, I'm a better DPS when I play Zenyatta than if I'm actually queuing for DPS. If that tickles your fancy, you can find the card on screen right now. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and definitely ring that bell icon to not miss out on my next upload. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and until next time, peace.